So whilst we wait for this, I'll just introduce myself. My name's Stephen McCarron, and I am the current president of NEA Property Mark. And hopefully this will give a bit of light relief after that fairly hefty session about the tenants market. Okay.
Yeah, just press the screen. Green, the top one.
There we go.
That's the laser.
Right, okay. We're doomed. I say we're doomed. Don't panic, Captain Mainwaring. Thank you for your generous welcome. As I said, I'm Stephen McCarron, President of the NEA Property Mark, and I've been a residential agent and surveyor for 32 years of my life. And I feel like I've had about 64 years of trauma at the same time. The property market has been lambasted from all corners, and what is really next for a state agency? And as I've described in the brochure, like a really bad photofit, statistics often quoted by the media with little or no context are pieced together to create a montage that would scare the lifeblood from even the most hardened property buyers. So what we are going to try and find out is wherein lies the truth. Are we really in crisis, or will we live to sell another day? So being part of the Property Mark presidential team comes with some fantastic opportunities and many new and interesting experiences. And one of these experiences includes becoming a media spokesperson for the industry that I love so much. Now, I've watched with great interest from the sidelines. Last year's NEA President, Leanna Laporta-Brown, had a smorgasbord of opportunity to talk about a very buoyant property market, a market that defied all odds and many media predictions, a post-pandemic market of plenty where buyers rush to fulfill their dreams of rural or coastal living, and no longer prisoners of the daily commute. With more quality time to spend with their families and the promise of a brighter future, and of course, I'd like to say we can never forget, and will never forget, the suffering of so many during the darkest times of the pandemic. Anyway, I've waited patiently for my turn and to have all those positive conversations in 2022. And it started well. Houses were still flying off the shelf, and prices were gaining momentum, often breaking records weekly. There's still an awful lot of confidence in the market, and if anything, the media were disinterested in the property sales market because they wanted an industry in crisis, and we didn't have one. But there was a crisis that kicked off in the rental market. Section 21, unlawful evictions, astronomical rent prices, landlords selling up, you name it, the rental market had it all going on. At one stage, given the fervour, Simon Cowell had even considered a reality rental property show called The Marjorie Factor, Maxine Facts, the Max Factor. We'll get there eventually. I know I thought the sales market is yesterday's chip wrapper, nothing to see here. But then, on the 23rd of September 2022, a small, insignificant thing happened. A mini thing, if you will. The Chancellor of the Exchequer, Kwasi Kwarteng, delivered his anti-growth plan for the nation by single-handedly creating a maelstrom of economic uncertainty and spooking the markets to boot. Now, I don't believe any of us are naive enough to think it was all going to be a rose garden, but we had and still have the experience and understanding to appreciate a correction in the market, which will come from a conflated base. Interest rate rises versus post-COVID inflation in property prices, created in part by a decrease in supply and an increase in demand. But nothing that would, in the order of things, create the media hysteria that will malign and attack our industry. No one to miss the opportunity to create mayhem and create a narrative of doom. After all, bad news sells. So as far as I'm concerned, the media dictate the sentiment of the nation, and in ways up until very recently, I actually didn't think were possible. And this is a very true story. My own naivety in this regard was brought to a start and end when I was asked to discuss the property market on a recent BBC radio programme. It went something like this. I had a phone call from the radio producer. So, can you give me an outline of where the market is at, given the increase of the cost of living and rising interest costs? And me, absolutely. It's now 10:45 a.m. and this morning we've agreed 2 properties for sale. And we do, however, recognise it's a difficult time for some buyers with rising costs fuelled by inflation. However, home ownership is still preferable for many who continue to see the value in its investment versus the cost of rental and relative tenure insecurity. And my apologies to David Vada, because he always gets on to me about that. But we are a nation who cherish, value, and aspire to home ownership. So the said radio producer then goes, that's great, but I don't think we'll be using you today. Not quite the story we're looking for. I'll keep your number and perhaps use you some other time. Goodbye. And I was shell-shocked by the dismissive attitude and thought, wow, I know I have a face for radio, but this is plainly ridiculous. To explicitly seek out a negative narrative and silence what was in reality was shocking to say the very least, and you might have pardoned me for thinking I was in North Korea that day. So, as estate agents, we are easy targets for the media, but as Benjamin Disraeli said, there are three kinds of lies: lies, damned lies, and statistics. And we read day and daily property prices predicted to fall by 10%, 20%, 30%, and even my favourite piece proclaiming property prices to fall by up to 70%. And it might be not too long before we see the attention-grabbing headline, property prices to fall by up to 100%. Maybe we will soon. Our industry is one of professionalism, resolute in approach, pragmatic in its experience, and determined to provide a service of quality. And if we stop and step outside the box for a moment, we can really see who has the right to judge professional efficacy. Certainly not reporting that fashions and shapes articles and reports to bash the market. Our clients are our number one priority, and outside noise is an unwanted and unnecessary distraction. The truth will always out, and the truth is we are in a period of normality. Our market has not been decimated, but it is returning to a more settled trading pattern. And it's our responsibility to report the facts to our clients and not allow skewed statistics to influence the market. I get it. The media are everywhere, but we are at the coalface and we know the truth. Be resolute, and soon enough they will find another sector to pick at. Or should I say pickaxe? I'm not quite sure. Now, for a little bit of fun, I've come up with a few alternative headlines to lighten the mood of the room, and then as an extra special treat, I've also penned a poem, which is a take on a W.H. Auden poem called The Funeral Blues. So we'll start off with our headlines. Royal Insider claims King Charles to sell Buckingham Palace amid cost of living crisis. Nice 140-bed, 19-stateroom and 78 bathrooms. Not bad. Ian McKenzie, rumoured to succeed Gareth Southgate as England manager after the World Cup, and the Guild to demand £1 million in compensation. Don't even know if he's here. It's okay. Grantham Journal. Nathan Emerson ate my hamster. I think that's the best one yet. Pretty sure that's going to turn up somewhere next week. And finally, said no journalist ever. Consumer journalist rings estate agent looking for good news story. Long-term home ownership, a safe bet, and the cost of fixed-rate mortgages drops twice in 1 month. So where are we really at this stage? Well, here's the national picture and what we're seeing. New buyer registrations are only down, 5% year on year. 69% of branches had most sales agreed below asking price in October. This compares to a pre-pandemic average of 78%, 2015 to 2020. And members from the NEA have an average 30 properties for sale per branch per month. And I think that's a pretty steady story and steady figures. So where are we really facing a crisis? Or is it just a return to normality we'd forgotten about? So if I may now, let me regale you with this. So if anybody knows the poem The Funeral Blues, they'll understand this. If not, just bear with me. Stop the TikToks. Cut off the mobile phone. Prevent the office dog from barking as we try to sell homes. Silence the office printer amid the muffled media scrum. Bring out the for sale signs. Let the journalists come. Watch news choppers circle warning overhead, scribbling on the sky the message, property is dead. Put black bows on the front steps of the properties homebuyers love. They say don't touch property unless you're wearing surgical gloves. But property was my north, my south, my east, and my west. My working week, the job I love best. My noon, my midnight, my talk, my song. I thought the property market would last forever, but was I wrong? The listings are not wanted now. Pull them down, everyone. The hacks say it's all doom and gloom and there's nowhere left to run. So should agents cancel all viewings, as the press say they should, or is it all a lot of hot air and the market still in fact good? Nathan Emerson's a man we all know and trust. Like me, he and Leanna Laporto believe it's still quite robust. Add the experience of Ian McKenzie to the equation and you realise we're far from a sombre occasion. Property Mark with the NEA and NAVA have seen it all before. We have ridden out the storms and we'll do it once more. Let interest rates rise with each fiscal quarter. We know there's always demand for bricks and mortar. Agents help individuals and families all across our nation, and it's the work of our people that provide that foundation. Even if the financial climate continues to play rough, it's times like these we find out that we're made of sterner stuff. So don't waste energy refuting claims that our industry's dead. Prove them wrong through dedication and hard work instead. Conference, please join me in banishing the property blues. With due diligence and drive, there's no way we can lose. As our passion and commitment is beyond media derision, let's go to work and let the UK public make its decision. Thank you very much.